What's up, everybody, and welcome to the number one Group of Five college football show in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share it with your family and friends. On this episode of Inside Drill, visit to Boone. New head coach Dowell Loggains joins the Group of Five guys for Inside Drill. Now, listen, as we always talk about on the social media, when you ask the Group of Five guys, we try our damnedest to deliver, and we have delivered. On this guest right now, we've got new head coach at Appalachian State, Dowell Loggains, joining the Group of Five guys for the very first time. Coach, appreciate you hanging out tonight.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I don't think Twitter was going to not let this happen, so I'm excited to get going.
Well, Coach, first question, and I don't know, I know you're still getting settled in, but how is Boone? You know, obviously the storms in the fall and kind of gotten forgotten, of course, by, the media and that they're on to the next thing. But how is Boone? How's the infrastructure? How are things locally?
It is a resilient group of people that are fighters and stick together and been blown away by the passion of this place for not only App State, but each other. So it's up and running and thriving and growing and getting back to Boone is getting back to where it was, and obviously areas around us are still affected by it, and there's still a struggle that's going on around our community, but not the Boone community.
Now, how important do you think? I know they played games after the storm, but how important do you think this upcoming season is? You see it all the time. Everybody remembers the Saints after Katrina.
Yeah.
And how important do you think it is for that community to get back to football season and back to the gatherings of all the people together?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think football's always been really important here. It's what drew me to this job. But you feel their passion and you can feel their excitement. And I know it's really important to our players as well. Like they went through. I mean, it was tragedy. It was rough. And you get here and you're like, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. I know what's going on. But when you really get here and you start feeling at ground zero, like what really happened, and some of the stories about players doing things for other players, or the strength staff here, what they were doing for some of the players, and players lost their apartments, and there was power out, and the people of this community rallied around this group to bring water and food. And it was just, the stories are amazing. And so I'm sure just to get away from a little bit of that hard time and get through it a little bit, and then start getting excited about the thing they really love around here, and that's football.
And you mentioned that, that fan base and that community, they're a resilient bunch. And honestly, one of the best fan bases in all of college football. I mean, they sell out that stadium, all their home games, they show up, they tailgate, they have a great time. Expectations are high. And honestly, at times a little bit unrealistic, I think. But how, you take in this job, how do you handle a job where the expectations are so high?
Yeah, I spent 17 years in the NFL and 4 years in the SEC. I've been in New York and Chicago, the two largest media markets in the country. I coach for the Cleveland Browns, where everyone's miserable year round. So, the expectations, you want to be places where the expectations are high, because that means they've won before. And this place is rich in tradition, and they've got 3 national championships and a bunch of conference championships, and that's what makes the place special. If it wasn't like that, the game day atmosphere wouldn't be what it is, and it's the best Group of Five game day atmosphere in the country. And I'm so fired up to be a part of it, and can't wait to experience that. And we're going to touch a little bit of it April 12th. We're having a spring game for the first time in a long time, and everyone keeps asking me, like, why are we doing this? Like, why is this important? Well, it's important for our community. It's important for our fan base. Like, they did go through a tragedy of a hurricane. It's important for our former players to get those guys back here and make sure that they know that this place still loves them and they're still valued here. But for our current players, it gives them something to get excited about outside of hitting each other for 15 days of spring practice. They get to go play a game in the stadium and have some fans here and a crowd and the former players. And so it's an exciting time right now.
How important is that for you too, and your staff to be able to come in and evaluate? Sure, you can watch film. Sure, you're going to talk to the previous staff and opponents and things like that. But how important it is to get that live action to be able to see what your roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many new people. And we've got new quarterbacks here. We signed 2 new quarterbacks. We've got new running backs. We've got new linebackers. We brought guys in from the portal. I think there's 29 to 30, 32 kids that are brand new. We had some guys that got in the transfer portal and went to other places. So for us, this is a brand new start. And we can't wait to work with our guys and see what we have and see how we can make their football better, and figure out how far we can take these schemes on offense, defense, and special teams. So it's a really exciting time, and it's been a really hard 8 weeks of offseason training, and you start to find out the resiliency of this group and how tough they are. And we got a great strength coach, Coach Greenlaw. He's done a great job with these guys, and he was a holdover. And but just the impact he's had on these guys, how hard they work, and we do it outside, and we do it in the cold and the ice and the snow, and we embrace the conditions of Boone, and so we're super fired up. We actually start spring ball tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah, so we actually had to move it up a day because weather was coming, and all of a sudden going inside when you practice outside and the weather's supposed to be a little bit better, and so it's whatever time it is right now, 7:15, and we're still in the office and fired up about tomorrow.
Now, you mentioned the transfer portal guys. Obviously, every roster, it seems like this year, and every team it's a new roster almost across the board. What's kind of your philosophy on NIL and recruiting high school kids and transfer portal kids? Just what's kind of your philosophy on that?
Yeah, it's to be flexible, number one, and you're always looking for ways to improve your situation and improve your roster. And sometimes that's signing high school kids and developing them. When you go through and you look at App State doesn't feel like a big transfer portal school. It feels homegrown. Recruit and develop high school kids and find those guys with a chip on their shoulder and develop them. That's what this thing is. I think when you take over a new place, like, you got to figure out what made them why they won in the past, and there's some winning leaves clues, and so does losing. So you're searching through the clues of winning. So I would say that NIL is good for our players. It's good for everyone when used in the right way. We got to be real careful of the direction of college football that it's going. It's still the greatest game in the world, and we can't forget that. And we can't forget why you guys went to Middle Tennessee State to go play, and I went to Arkansas, and like the friends and memories that we all have from those places, and all the people at App State before us. And times are changing, but you don't want to change your core values of what you believe in, but you still need to adapt to NIL and the transfer portal, and make sure that the most important thing that you're focused on is your own roster. And it's the greatest resource we have is the kids we have in our locker room right now, making sure that we're maximizing them. And you still got to coach them really hard, because the only way to get better, a coach is there to take you to places you can't go on your own. But you don't change the standard of coaching, but you better have great relationships. So when these people are sliding in their DMs and calling them and calling their high school coach and calling handlers and street agents and all the other things that happen, that you got to beat them on the relationships you've created in the building.
Well, I think if there is one place, there's more than one, but if there is one place in the group of five that can get a guy to campus, and regardless of NIL and agents and stuff, I mean, Coach Watts, who we played for at Middle, had been at App for a long time, and he always used to tell us, we get them to the mountain, they're coming.
Yeah.
And so just talk about that a little bit. Talk about just the culture of App State, and talk about, just the place as a whole, and how, because look, it's not a secret that there's going to be other schools that would be able to outbid you for somebody, but talk about the culture and what you guys do to win those battles.
Yeah. You know what? This is an interesting stat. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone told me yesterday that out of the 100% of the all conference Sun Belt players are not on the current roster. Their current roster from last year, which is really interesting when you think about that. And where the state of the college football is, but we got a brand here, and it's a national brand. And it's the cool thing about this place is, wherever you're at, whether it's New York or Chicago or Miami, Nashville, places we've lived, like, everyone knows what that block day is. And so when you get it, and that's how we feel, and you nailed it. Well, if we can get a kid up on the mountain, and we can get him to game day, and we feel like we got something really special to offer. And we've got a couple kids on our roster that came here. AJ Swan left the SEC and a lot less. He took a lot less money to come because he was looking for the opportunity. JJ Cole was looking for an opportunity. Rashad Dubinion left Arkansas looking for an opportunity and took a lot less to be here. And I've had people call me and say, "Oh, I know y'all got money because you just signed JJ Cole and AJ Swan and Rashad Dubinion and some of the guys that we've signed. Like, you guys would be surprised if you'll come check this place out. You'll see what this place is about. If we can get you on the mountain, we've got a chance. If we can get you to game day, we got a really good chance."
Yeah, and you mentioned Swan and a couple of those transfers. Obviously, being an offensive guy, what's App State's offense going to look like this year? And is the quarterback race wide open, or is it kind of narrowed down to a couple guys? What's your take on that?
Great question. The quarterback race is wide open, and we've got 4 or 5 guys we really like. And Swan came here, Cole came here. We got Billy Wiles, we got Matt Wilson. We have some other guys in a quarterback competition. They were all no. It was very clear when they came in. This is open, and we don't have a current starter. We don't have the depth chart. Everyone's going to compete, and we're going to find the best players. People get caught up in the name sometimes, they want to place but based on the logo they came from. I would not fall into that trap. So we're excited about the opportunity to compete and kind of figure out where that thing is. And you asked about the offense, and I keep telling everyone this: your offense evolves with the players you have. And in your mind, you have a vision for what you think it should be. But 17 years in the NFL, we learned a lot of football and coached a lot of different quarterbacks from Matt Hasselbeck to Jay Cutler to Vince Young to Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold, Ryan Tannehill, all these guys that we've coached. I can name them all. Mitchell Trubisky, Mike Glennon, and all of them are a little bit different. Our 23 offense with Spencer Rattler was a lot different than our 24 offense with Lenore Sellers. And so I think the exposures to a bunch of different schemes and a bunch of different quarterbacks, when you start building around your quarterbacks and your offensive line, and then you start putting your pieces together as far as receivers, skill guys, running backs, tight ends. But it starts with, what can your quarterback do? And then you start building around him that way. And so I'm excited about that. Like, our offense changed 5 different times in South Carolina. I remember at the start of the year this year, coming out of spring ball, we wanted to figure out what we had. And I knew the Sellers was going to be good. And I knew that he needed some time to develop. And I've never coached a kid harder than I have ever coached him, because I can't tell you how many times I threw him out of practice or how hard I was just getting him to the point where he's ready to play. And we start the fall camp, and everyone leaves in the summer. And the coaches go on vacation in July. Well, that's when I got in there by myself and said, "Hey, all right, we got Sellers. This is what he's going to be. He's going to be the guy. And how can we build this offense around him?" When I remember the first 4 or 5 days of spring prior of fall camp, of training camp, our defense coordinator, defense coaches kept coming to me saying, "This is a complete different offense than it was in the spring." And it's like, well, you got to evolve around your players. Like, Lenore and Spencer have different qualities. Spencer played so much football by the time we got him. Like, he was smart. He knew everything. He could make checks and audibles and that stuff. And their skill set was different. Both really, really good players, but it's building around what you have.
What about on the defensive side? We always fall into the trap. We're both offensive guys. What about on the defensive side? App State's typically maybe a little undersized, fast. What are we gonna see in 2025?
Edgy, right? Like, that's like, when you say App State, that's what, like, the chip on your shoulder, undersized guy with edge and heart, right? You just can't beat. And that's what, so to me, is like winning leaves clues, and you study why they won in the past, and the brand, what you just said, is who we are, and we embrace that. So for us, it's getting back to that style of play. Everyone's like, "Hey, what schemes are you guys going to run?" You hired a former App player, and DJ Smith, who we hired, who's a co-coordinator from Missouri. And so we got him in here, and he's been around a lot of good coaches, and schematically a lot of variety of defense, and was around Steve Wilkes for a little while and played here, and he knows what it looks like to be successful here. He's won national championships here. So it's same thing we build it on offense. Is it 4 down? Is it 3 down? Can we play man? Can we play zone? How are our corners? How are we going to match up with people in our conference? But it's the style of play is what's important versus is it 4 down or 3 down? Is it man or zone? It's how we play, and we need to get back to playing, because it wasn't good enough last year. at all. And when I got here, I looked at the tape and I'm watching. I'm like, we have some things we need to clean up, but there's some players here and there's some talent here. We got to get back to playing App State football, and we have to play with that edge and have that chip back on our shoulder.
And every coach, throughout their career, whether it's playing or obviously you're at Arkansas, you spent time in the NFL and South Carolina. Is there anything specific in your coaching philosophy you've pulled from some of those, famous coaches really that you've been around?
Oh, I'm sure the staff gets tired of me saying Bill Parcells' name. It is, but I sit there and we got these, these I'll show right to you guys right now. These off-season T-shirts. It's like this is what it looked like. Blame nobody, expect nothing, do something. Was what Coach Parcells had on our off-season shirts back in Dallas. I played for Houston Nutt, our program. He walked in today he'd be like, yep, I recognize that. Hey, I know what that looks like. Hey, I've seen that before. Jeff Fisher learned so much football from him, and John Fox, and had a chance to go coach in the SEC, and went to work for Sam Pittman, who had been with Kirby Smart. So I got to see that model. And I'm sure the other name the staff gets really tired of hearing is James Franklin, because I got to spend some time with him at Penn State when we got let go. The head coach got fired with the Jets, and I was offensive coordinator there, and went to Penn State when Coach Franklin was trying to do what Saban was doing with hiring these name analysts. And so I went to Penn State for a time, and there's not a day goes by if there's a problem that pops on my desk, I'm calling Coach Franklin saying, hey, this isn't in the head coaching manual. Give me, what are your thoughts? And he's been unbelievable of walking me through that of hey, all right, think about this. And my college coach, Houston Nutt, has so much experience and was a head coach in the SEC for 17 years, whatever it was, at Arkansas and Ole Miss. And he's seen it all and done it all. But he can, there's things that pop up that you're like, whoa, hold up now. I wasn't that a month ago. I was worried about, hey, how are we going to get Lenore Sellers to beat Clemson? Now it's transitioned into, all right, you got this that pops up. And before you weren't worried about it. Now you got to go figure out to do. Sometimes you got to make some hard decisions based on what's best for the football team and the organization.
Coach, before we get to some Twitter questions, I have to, Dolphins and Bears are very close to my life. I'm grew up a Dolphins fan. My wife's family, they're all Bears fans. So when you mention names like Danny Hill, Jay Cutler, Mitch Trubisky, you're pulling on a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
So I got to get at least a story of one of those guys.
Hold on. We're moving right
on
now.
The road.
All right. So here we go. This is on my wall in here. It's my Cutler jersey. And so everyone hit right there says, P.S. Sorry for the gray hair. So there's Jay and I when we were there. But hey, I had no gray hair until I coached Cut. I had jet black hair. It was a good look. And then you go coach him, and it's wow. So talented, so smart. But you had to be, here's the thing with Jay. You had to be ready every day when you went in the meeting room, because he had a standard and expectation. And he's brilliantly smart. And if you didn't bring it every day and be able to help him, you were gonna get that smoke. And you didn't want that smoke. And Ryan Tannehill was the exact opposite. Kid that could have been a doctor. And he's so professional. He's so just by the book and thank you. Great meeting versus Jay that's hey, what the heck are they doing on 3rd and 2 to 6? Did you see when they're in this dime 32 package? Did you know that they got a tail? Did you see this? Yeah, hold on. We're going to get to that in the cut up. But it was 2 great experiences. I love the city of Chicago. Awesome. And you leave Chicago and you move to Miami, and you can't beat the weather in Miami.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Yeah, but there's nothing like winning in Chicago. Now, there's also nothing like a press conference as the offense coordinator after you lose in Chicago either.
That's great. We'll go to 3 Twitter questions. The first one's from Baker Loy, big App State fan and a follower of us. Wants to know do you think that App State can win a Sun Belt championship in year 1, or do you see this as a multi-year rebuild?
Yeah. I would say ask me in a month after we get to practice.
Smart answer.
And regardless of what I thought, I'm not answering that question. What I would say is we're really excited about getting started in spring football. And we've got an awesome tradition, and we know the expectations. Our players know it, and we're excited, and we embrace it.
I love it.
Jeff, this guy's been trained by the New York and Chicago media.
I know. We're not
you thought you were going to get him with
that. No, thank you. Please, yeah. Now, the difference between those guys and you guys, we're about to test you guys, is they're going to ask you 15 different times, 15 different ways to try to see if your answer ever changes.
It's always the same.
With more edge. You guys have that like Nashville Southern niceness about you. Like, that's Jersey raw.
And then probably whatever you say, the headline of the article is going to be just completely different from what you actually said.
Oh, sound bites. Yeah, sound bites. Yeah.
What's going to look for clicks? That's right. That's right. All right. Second question from slightly delusional App State fan. Wants to know, what do you do in your free time away from football? I
got 4 kids and a wife. And that's really it. It's 7:30. I'm sitting in the office. You do football, and what's amazing about football is you could do this 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and there would be something you could learn, and there could be some tape you can't get to, but it's really that. Like it's corny. It is. I know it's corny. It's cliche, but it's faith, family, and football, and that's really it. Like I'm not a golfer. I don't hunt. So I'm really boring. I like football. I struggle to like communicate with anyone that doesn't do football and isn't or sports fan. So I'm lame that way and I'm boring, but it's ball.
No, that's not boring at all. I got 3 boys. Sprouse has got 3 or third one on the way.
2
so we get
number 3 on the way.
Yep. Yeah. See, I've got 3 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
So I'm working through my boy is 8 and I'm trying to teach him what cover 2 is and the cover 2 beaters and trying to get him going on Madden that way. And this is a cool story. So we interview on Wednesday night phone interview, App State. And we're sitting there in South Carolina. We just beat Clemson. My kids love Lenore Sellers and Spencer Rattler and Xavier Leggett. I got a Leggett jersey sitting here. He just sent me. And I would come to him and say, hey, the interview goes well. And they're like, hey, why don't you guys, there's going to be a second interview. So I bring my son down, and we kind of, the girls are older. They're 15 and 13. So they kind of knew what was happening. So I bring my son down, like, hey, his name's Ryan, R-Y-N-E, like Sandberg, Chicago born on the 23rd, which was Sandberg's number. And I'm like, hey, bud, we're going to go to App State. And he's like, black and gold? And I said, yeah, black and gold. And he's like, I don't want to go, Dad. I don't want to go. Like, why are we going to leave Lenore's? I said, well, look, this is a head coaching job. And he storms off, runs upstairs. He's so mad at me. Then he comes back downstairs, and he's like, Dad. I'm like, what's up, bud? He's like, we can go to App. And I was like, okay, well, what changed your mind? He goes, I just played the video game. If you recruit well, we can win a natty.
That's
I'm
great.
Like, all right, thanks, bud. Like now that College 25 gives us the okay.
Yeah.
He's like, we're good to go.
He's bought in.
Now did he win it? Did he win the Sun Belt in year 1? I mean, that's the question.
Oh, hey, New York, chill out. I didn't ask him that. I didn't go. I didn't dig on details.
I got you.
Man, that's great.
What else we got, Jeff?
All right, last one. And it's from Today I Give My All. And I'm not necessarily sure what this means. The question is Los or Dos?
I think they're talking about the restaurants now. And I'm going to plead the 5th because both of them are excellent. Both of them are good. The one thing about Boone, too, is not only we got great game day atmosphere, great restaurant scene, great food scene. Mm-hmm. Like, not good, great. And so both are good.
Jeff, have we not been to either of those? I mean, we've been up there. We always go to the ale house is where we always end up.
Great spot. Another great one. South End's great. Yep. We have some great spots here.
No, it's every time we've been to Boone, we've been there 3 times. It has just been one of the best experiences we've ever seen. And we've been to almost 25 group of 5, game day atmospheres now at this point. So it's top notch.
Which one? Let me interview y'all now. Which one's the best? Best game day atmosphere you guys have seen.
Ooh. It's going to be really hard to pass up North Carolina at App.
Yeah,
that was a double overtime, 60-something points in the last
63-61. I remember getting ready. We played North Carolina when I was in South Carolina. We opened against them, my first game there, and I remember watching that game. It was a shootout, and that place was rocking.
It was,
brought
just
in extra bleachers it was packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got you guys on camera saying that too. So
no problem.
Put it in your next in your next recruiting. You know, you get a recruiting video up there.
No question. No question.
Look, the only people we got to worry about is the James Madison fans, because anytime we don't mention them, they get upset.
You just opened up that can again.
Yeah.
But anyway, Coach, man, we cannot thank you enough for coming on. I know you're trying to get settled in. I know you got spring ball starting tomorrow. You got 4 kids and a wife at home waiting on you, so we'll let you get back to it. Hopefully we'll see you this fall.
Yeah, y'all come see us. I appreciate you having us on. It's been a great time, but you guys come see us if you get a chance.
Appreciate you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Jeff, I mean, he suckered us in. He suckered us into saying that about Boone and being the best atmosphere we've been to. But I think so. I mean, for putting me on the spot, I think so, right? I mean, it's definitely the best game we've been to.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of them, right? There's been a lot of great atmospheres and great fan bases that we've been able to be a part of over the last 3 years. But man, it's hard to top that one. I mean, that game was sold out.
And the Thursday night Marshall at App State game was wild too.
Yeah, for Thursday, right? Yeah, you got us a little bit on that, Thursday. But like I said, the only ones that are going to be upset is one particular fan base.
I don't know why you said that. I'm trying to build a bridge, Jeff.
Look, good cop, bad cop. You build the bridge and I'll tear it down.
Okay, we'll do that. But anyway, I mean, excited to see what App's going to do this year. I like everything he said, right? Edgy, chip on the shoulder kind of deal. And they've been that way forever. And he talked about it. They last year, we couldn't figure it out. I mean, they were giving up big play after big play after big play. And, as bad as that looked, I mean, you're only talking 2 or 3 plays a game that really ruined their season.
Yeah. I mean, some fumbles, turnovers, down the stretch. I mean, they just didn't look like, especially defensively, they didn't look like the App State that we've known in years past, which that happens, especially in this day and age in the transfer portal. But I'm excited to see what they got. I mean, guys, listen off all the coaches he's either played under, coached with, has had influence, and then all the quarterbacks he's coached. I mean, the guy knows quarterbacks. So yeah, he's wide open competition. You heard it from him. You get the 2 transfers, one I believe from Iowa State, and then Swan. He's from the SEC. Who knows? But that's a big question mark I had on my list was who you're going to be able to run the offense. And he said it. You build the program and the offense around the quarterback, and he seems to know how to do that. He's Radler and Sellers are both great college quarterbacks, so he's got the proven track record. And then just looking at the schedule, I know we'll get into the Sun Belt analysis of all the schedules, but I mean, they could go on a run. They could be 3-0 going into that Boise State game. Be a big one.
That will be a big one. I almost started cracking up as soon as I hear the name Ryan Tannehill.
I was waiting for you to.
Did you see me? I was over here. I was hoping you didn't have the camera scene on me, and I was just trying to bite my tongue.
I did, but I was hoping you'd be like, "Look, Tannehill's caused me a lot of pain and discomfort."
It's funny is Cutler. See, I've always liked Cutler. I've always thought he was put in bad situations. Tannehill,
both had an arm like a freaking rocket.
Cutler was crazy live arm. And then Trubisky, for my wife's side of the family, Trubisky and the Bears moving up because they moved up, picked Trubisky, and then the Chiefs picked Patrick Mahomes right after that. So
tough one to swallow.
But you know how this stuff is, right? Trubisky goes to the Chiefs and Andy Reid, and maybe he's the guy that's
100%.
Winning Super Bowls every other year. But no, I think. I wish we would have asked him this because we talked about this a lot with App State, especially. It's a perfect example. You get these coaches that come in and they win and they leave. They win and then they leave. They win and then they leave. And then you get a guy that sticks around, and eventually that's kind of how I feel like happened with that. But kind of caught up to him. Coaching change after coaching change in this revolving door, and I think it just kind of caught up to him. So interested to see how he rebuilds. It's not really a rebuild, but how he rebuilds that culture to just be, we're going to win no matter what, no matter who's the coach, no matter who's here, we're winning. And that's what we do. And it seems like he knows that. He knows the expectation, and I think he's ready to roll.
Yeah, he seems to know what App State football is, at least in his mind, right? So now it's just, like he said, learning the winning ways, things from that, and learning from the losses as well, and just building, his own version of that. I think that culture, and I mean, we get suckered in these interviews, man. They're all spot on, and get you fired up. You know what I mean?
Can I be transparent here with you, Jeff? I mean, when they announced the hire, it was not a name that I think anybody really was like, we got to go get, you know what I mean? Like, it 100%. Wasn't like a hot name. I don't think maybe nobody knew he was looking for a head job or anything like that. But then you go look at the resume.
It's a good resume.
And the coaching tree, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And this is where we, and especially the media has to not be lazy. And, I saw all the coaching hire grades come out on Yahoo Sports or CBS or ESPN or whatever it was. And I promise you, every grade that they gave a new coach, it might as well have been based on their name and their brand alone. I mean, it was Rich Rod, A+, Belichick, A+, some coach you've heard of, A, some coach that maybe you've heard of, A-, coach you never heard of, oh, that's a C grade. Why? You know what I mean?
Because it's
just lazy. It's lazy is what it is. And it's what we talk about with on the field product. I think do it with coaches. Everybody does it. But you're looking at a brand, and it's a popularity contest. But again, you look at his resume, and you look at App State for what that program is. You look at Coach Loggains and what kind of his philosophy and style, and you talk Bill Parcells and those guys. I mean, to me, that screams App State and chip on your shoulder, edgy, underdog mentality. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about it is, he's very likable. Just talking to him, even off air, right? Like he's a dude. And I think that resonates, especially in this day and age of college football, where let's not get it twisted. It's about building relationships. It's always been that way. But I think that even more now than ever, with the portal, with NIL, you got to be able to connect with young kids and get them to understand that you care about them, more than just a football player. You want them to be a successful human being and contributing to society. So I think he's got that, and he's going to be able to connect with kids.
Yep. Well, can't thank Coach enough for hanging out with us. We got to get up to Boone. We did not get up to Boone this past year. So we got to get up there and see App at some point, whether it be in Charlotte, Boone, or maybe Boise. But we definitely got to get up there and hang out with the Mountaineers for a weekend. That's all we got for you guys tonight. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Put your notifications on. So anytime we go live, we're doing a live show in this offseason every Monday night. We're trying to get you an interview with a head coach or athletic director or player or somebody midweek every single week in this offseason. So we will keep them coming. Make sure you check out the channel. See some of the other ones. We had Matt Drinkle from Central Michigan, Trey Lamb from Tulsa. Just had Chuck Carson talking NIL last week. But can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with us.